What up, Wavehealernation? We are back for another episode. I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling excited. Kevin and I just had another great working acting session. Kevin was working on his Gettysburg Address piece, along with some other pieces, and I was working on my monologue again for The Box Killer. And we just wanted to do a quick recap of just kind of what we have discovered and what has been good for us these past two sessions. I have a lot of things in mind as well. After we switch gears with that, we're going to talk about the age-old conversation of acting, on-film acting versus voiceover. And both of us have a lot to talk about with that. So before we get started, reminder, if you have not done so, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel and all the social media at Tsunami Healing. Please leave a review, leave a 5-star review as well, if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and for supporting. I'm also on Buymeacoffee.com/Tsunami Healing. Just redid that. I'm going to be working on that a little bit more. So thank you guys for tuning in. Kevin, welcome back.
Wow, a return guest. How often does this happen?
I was going to say, you're a reoccurring guest at this point of the show.
My guest stars on this show are pretty good. I feel like the old Love Boat series in the 70s. Guest starring Kevin. Guest starring Kevin. Guest starring Kevin again.
Kevin Horton, ladies and gentlemen, our good friend. Kevin, we have had a good couple of working sessions so far. So, what has been your biggest takeaways?
My biggest takeaway is you have a way as a director to nail me on things that are affecting me that I don't even realize at the beginning. He kept asking me after this one scene, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? And at first I couldn't think of anything, and then it became really obvious, which my other coach had always told me. I have a fear of the camera or the microphone, and the minute you take me off the camera or the microphone, I can perform whatever it is just like you wanted to hear it. And that is that's like a revelation of sorts. But it's also something that it's a barrier to get over. Because we also mentioned at the end, is our goal is to go in and deliver the piece when we feel relaxed and everything goes well. You got to deliver that time and time again under pressure.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to do that. And I just noticed it right off the bat. I was like, dude, what's going on? Like, that's not you. Like, what's happening? I could tell it was something. I just didn't know what it was. And then we boiled it down to it's really simple. Like, yeah, like, and I'm sure that a lot of people deal with this.
I know they do.
You get anxiety, like, when the red light comes on, or like you know you're being recorded somehow.
And there's a thing about people that have watched the Brady Bunch, and I'll go back to a certain episode where Cindy Brady in the Brady Bunch knows all the answers on this quiz show, but the minute the red light goes on for the camera,
stress.
She just stares at the camera, and they're going, Cindy, Cindy, Cindy.
The deer in headlights.
And she blows it.
Yeah.
So for those of us that like to watch, go back and you'll know that feeling.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to get you over that fear. And that's why I had the idea of like, look, I know you're a voiceover actor. I know you're not an on-camera actor. I know you don't do a lot of these other things like improv and all that. But I was like...
But I want to grow.
Right. And I was like, I'm going to get you over that. I was like, I'm going to make you the best voiceover actor. Let's put you on camera. That way you are used to doing it. You are used to whatever it is. So that way when you get to the microphone, like you've already been through the worst of it.
And I told my coach what I was doing, and then first thing he said, about time.
I figured. I figured. And you said that you would automatically, he said he noticed a difference in your next session just from doing that one session together, right?
He said, well, you're not there yet, but he goes, you've
improved.
By that practicing, he said, keep doing that.
Yeah. And yeah, I do. I nail Kevin because he lets me. I asked him, I was like, how do you want to do the session? He's like, yeah, just do what we did last time. I'm like, okay.
I'm a glutton for punishment, but that's,
thank you.
But why do this?
Yes.
So that's what I learned is, if you want to keep doing the same thing that is not getting you work, being honest. What is it that's not getting you work? I send in auditions and I don't get it. What is it? Well, they say, well, you sound wooden. And the woodenness comes from the fear of microphone. And we did that one exercise where you said, put all that aside, just talk to me. And I felt like I did the same thing, but you said there it was, and then you played it back for me.
Yeah, I'll let you see it for yourself. Yeah.
So there's that beauty of, we go, wow, and even I noticed it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great, so I'm glad that we were able to do this. Couple of my biggest takeaways from the first session, I realized that this was fun. I just like doing this. Getting together with a group of friends, working on stuff that you've always wanted to work on, that you don't have time to work on. Like, let's make the time and just do it. And then talk about it afterward.
I look forward to this.
Yeah. I think that was one of my biggest takeaways from this first session. And then the second session that we just did, I realized how important it was to just play. Because I feel like when you allow yourself creative freedom to work with a piece, play with it, get messy, get off the page, out of the script, off the lines, I feel like that's when you start to discover what works and what direction that this piece needs to go into. Because I felt like I had a big discovery today. I had this idea. I've been working on this serial killer monologue that I found online called The Box Killer. And when I started it, it didn't have a whole lot of substance, but I feel like, I don't know, Kevin, like we've kind of found a new breakthrough today. I
felt it.
Yeah, when I first did it on the first session, I was standing up. I had a lot of force and power behind what I was trying to do. And today I just had an idea. I was like, Kevin, I want to try it this way. And I just sat down. And instead of like yelling at Kevin when I was performing the piece, I was very much more cooled out, calculated, mild-toned, charismatic, and I think it made a huge difference. And we saw that today. So.
And what I learned too is how you have to help somebody in that situation is let you act, and on my end connect with you eye to eye, but then be totally unresponsive.
Yeah, and Kevin gave me a lot of great homework, a lot of things that I would have never thought of on my own to go back and study and look at, because what it reminded you of right off the bat was Reverend Jim Jones and the Jonestown case.
Horrible thing.
I was giving him those kind of vibes, and I didn't even realize that's what I was doing, which is great for the acting scene. Not that I'm going to hurt anybody, but that's what the scene called for.
And we just talked about how that reality, and that all happened in 1978 and was a horrible thing.
Yeah.
But it was something that I could give to him to say, well, when you want to get in that mindset, listen to this, or listen to a portion of this. And so then I just kept coming up with ideas, and you just kept writing.
Another one that you gave me was Twilight Zone, and that was a great, Rod Sterling.
Classic.
That was a great thing that I would have never thought of by myself or on my own. And I feel like that just studying that will give this piece so much more substance. And man, the coolest thing from this session that I learned and I discovered is just his immediate feedback. I could tell like his face was different. And I asked him and he's like, yeah, better. He's like, I feel like you got into my head. And I was like, ooh, yes, mission accomplished. I was like, I wasn't even trying to do that.
I'm glad this is not on TV because I have a rather fat head.
But I did. I mean, man, be careful. I'm dangerous.
Because what I was telling him is, in a good way, give me candy.
Yeah.
Draw me in, and then I'm too far in, then close the scene.
Yeah. On the flip side of all that, I'm very thankful to be able to direct Kevin. He takes direction very well. First off, he was giving me really great reads from the get-go, but he allowed me to put him into some uncomfortable situations of try this, do this.
Let me tell you, that was hard.
I could tell. I know I was making you uncomfortable, but you, like I said, you take direction very well. You're very coachable, And
That's important.
it was fun on my end because I was seeing the same things that his coach is been seeing and telling him for a long time. So that lets me know that okay, I do have a mentor's eye, I do have a coach's eye, I do have a casting director's eye. If I'm seeing the same things that his coach is seeing. So that was really cool on my end, just to be able to experience that. And I don't know, I feel like Kevin and I have really great chemistry overall because we've been working together on different things for so long. But I know we know a lot about each other, so I kind of know where to pick and pull him in order to get him where I think he should be in the scene.
And I feel the same way with you.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have mentioned that to other people because
Right.
that would, to be honest, that would trigger them.
Right. Yeah.
Why are you bringing in something so horrible? But
how do you even know about that? Like, yeah, no, none of that.
Because it just
We have that mutual trust with each other.
that's the thing.
We have a mutual trust and mutual love for each other that we're able to go to those dark places and those spots. And we know that we're just trying to pull the best out of each other because we know how to do it. I think that's the exciting thing.
And the only way you learn how to do it is what they call get messy.
Yeah.
Because this whole session was getting messy.
Mm-hmm.
Was where with the Gettysburg Address, and I love that whole thing. And it was only 5 minutes that he did this whole thing, and I got ready, I was good, and then all of a sudden the red light went on, and I was and you was just like, he was like,
yeah. So
hello.
I give you a little insight. So I could tell Kevin was getting inside of his head, and I do the same thing. We all do that. Everybody does that, and I knew how to get him out. So a technique that we would do a lot in improv is make you do space work, mime it out. So that's what creates a great improv scene is you have really good space work and really good mime work, but you're not doing the thing that you're talking about. So for example, I made him drive a car, but then deliver the speech to me. And
not literally, people, but
right.
Figuratively.
Yeah, mime it out and do the space work in front of the camera. And I could tell he was so frustrated. But that's what I was trying to get him to do, and I think it helped.
And really, that's what I wanted. I'm telling people, make me uncomfortable, because that's where I grow.
Because when you're focusing on driving the car, figuratively, and you're delivering a speech, you're not thinking about delivering a speech. You're thinking about, well, what do I look like driving this car? So I was just trying to get him out of his head. And you, on top of that, you want to give a physical action to your script, to your words. So I was giving him a physical action to be able to actually move through the script and move through the lines. Obviously, I didn't want to just make him mad. So, I don't know, how was that for you, Kevin? Because I know you, like, I don't know. I mean, that's what we're here to do. We're here to put each other in uncomfortable situations. So what was, did you have any idea I was doing all of that? Or did you, I feel like you kind of had an idea, but you weren't really sure, like, all right, where's he going with this?
As I said before, I was always been a voiceover actor, and my coach has parroted to me all the time, and he said over and over in his training, the best training for a voiceover actor is to get on-camera training.
Yeah.
And then, because then that puts your mindset in a whole different mindset, way, and then you bring that to the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And as for from many years, and as he could tell, I thought that, well, that's backwards.
Yeah.
But actually, it works because you get outside of your head on camera, because you got that thing called the camera staring at you, which is, there's that fear of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great scene, though. Do it again for the microphone, and then I do it again, and it sounds like the same thing I'm doing for the camera, and then everybody goes, that's it. And I'm like, what did I do? It sounded the same to me.
Yeah.
But it's about moving your hands and get out of the mindset of just don't fear the camera, don't fear the microphone.
Yeah.
Act like it's not there.
Yeah, I like the saying of get out of your head into your body, or get out of your head into your heart. That's essentially what you're doing, because that's where you authentically live.
And I'll bring it back to our first session that's on the other podcast that we did.
Mm-hmm.
You kept telling me, talk to your dad, talk to your dad,
Yeah.
talk to your dad. And you did another thing when we were talking beforehand. I was explaining about a situation where the person I was talking to said, Kevin, when are you going to have more fun? And that's the way he started the conversation. It was my financial advisor. I didn't expect my financial advisor, who's all dressed up nicely, all of a sudden he goes, when are you going to have more fun?
Yeah.
I'm like, when are you going to go vacation? When are you going to do this? Where are you going to go? And then they told me, they go, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was caught off guard,
Yeah.
kind of like in these scenes, driving a car, saying the Gettysburg Address. Now think about that.
Yeah.
Fourscore and four.
He's going to be driving all week saying Gettysburg Address to himself. I've been glad that the fun started with these sessions. I think these sessions have been really helpful, cathartic for us. Progressive, like you said. Just feeling like and actually working on stuff that we said we're going to work on, and then doing it, and then making progress for it. Kevin, you brought up a good point. I kind of want to flip the script here a little bit. That age-old conversation of acting versus voiceover. Voiceover versus acting. Acting is voiceover. Voiceover is acting. It's all true. It's all, there's a lot of synergy there. Voiceover is acting, but you're acting in a microphone with no props and no camera on you. Acting is essentially voiceover, except you have props and there's a camera, and it's a little bit different space work, and you're interacting with people.
Blocking.
It's a little bit different, and it's all the same. So, Kevin, I started as a voiceover actor, and now I'm an on-screen actor. You are a voiceover actor. You've studied various different types of acting. You've dabbled in on-camera acting. You've been in commercials and had different spots. I've done improv. I was part of a troupe for a year and a half. So we have a lot to bring to the table today. What are your thoughts, just when somebody says voiceover and acting? Just what are your general, like, what comes to mind?
Right out the bat?
Yeah.
They are the same.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done. No, okay. But no, that's what it is.
Yeah, I know for me, when I first started studying voiceover, I was studying improv at the same time. And what I did is whatever I learned in voiceover, I would take it and experiment with it in improv. And whatever I learned in improv, I would take it in, like, it was two great playgrounds to bounce back and forth with each other. Kind of like trigonometry and algebra, right? Like, they just bounce off each other. I didn't really fully understand voiceover because people kept telling me you need to take acting classes. I never fully understood voiceover until after I started studying on-camera acting. Once I did that, it all made sense. I was like, oh, like that's what everybody meant all this whole time.
That's what they've been telling me for the last more than 10 years.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't know, for me, and acting is acting too. I remember, like, I saw an interview with Don Cheadle, and he was saying that a lot of people come up to him and say, hey, I want to be an actor. So we would ask him, he'd be like, well, do you act? Do you write scenes? Do you film them with your friends? Do you go back and watch them? Are you in plays and community theater? Are you do you audition for movies and TV? And every time he would ask somebody that, they'd be like, no. And he'd be like, so what's this thing about you want to be an actor? Because that's what actors do. There's a lot of classes, a lot of practicing, a lot of time that people don't see. And the reason we're able to go to all these places and, like, express our emotions on camera is because basically you spend your lifetime learning how to do it. It never really stops. And
It takes a lot longer than you think.
yeah, and I've heard people say too, like, actors are basically just people who sell emotions. Like, you're selling emotions to people. And that's, I don't know, it's such a funny way to look at it, but in a sense it's almost kind of true, because you can watch a movie and you'll be crying or you'll be laughing, and you know that movie's not real, but
It brings that
it connected.
out of you.
Yeah, it connected with your psyche. It connected with those emotions and those feelings that you have in your own life, and then you share that. That's the beauty of bringing something to life.
And I'll bring that back to my real life. I went to my financial meeting last week, and with everybody else, you go there and they review it, and then you find out that you're doing okay, and then you move on with your life. But as I shared with Justin earlier, I had the meeting and everything was good, and I was driving to work, and all of a sudden I was grieving the loss of my parents. And I had to take a minute before I went into work to just have a full-on knockout, drag-out cry. And as I was walking in, I go, where did that come from? And I realized every year when I have the financial meeting, I go through this emotional roller coaster after. So there is that connection.
Yeah,
But
and
you have to connect.
do you feel like voiceover gives you that creative outlet to be able to process some of that real life grief, or like you take those experiences and not necessarily like that's the only thing you have to draw from, but like that helps you move through and connect through that?
Very much so. Now I'll bring a real life example that I did last week, and my coach had us do what he calls it a 1 minute warm up, and he gives us a subject, and he said, I want you to dive into a story that has a twist ending, and you have to tell us the story in 59 seconds. And I can't always meet that time frame, but I told a story of a dream I had soon after my mom passed away, where I could hear her laughter, and I could feel her presence, and it was like a warm summer day. She comes in, she grabs my hand, and the dream ended. And I told that story, and one of my fellow voice actors messaged to me on Zoom, and what he said, great story, but that had a real spear at the end. And that stuck with me about how you can take something that felt so horrible but good for me, tell the story to somebody else, and it impacts them, and then it's cathartic for me, because I'm exposing my underbelly in a way of this is what I'm going through, and then it's just cathartic.
Yeah, no, you're hitting on something great there, and I think that's kind of the key. Is no matter what the medium is, whether it's acting or voiceover or an improv show or a TV show or comic books or whatever it is, whatever the medium, it's all comes back to the art of storytelling, because that's what you're doing in voiceover. That's what you're doing in acting. You're telling a story, and from that story, emotions are going to get evoked. There's going to be a human emotional connection between the performer and the audience, and I think everybody benefits from it all the way around, kind of like you're saying, Kevin. So going a little bit into kind of some of the similarities and the differences between on-camera acting. I think in general, obviously, on-camera acting, you're on camera. There's a camera. Normally, it depends on whether you're doing theater, TV, or a movie, but there are props. There are costumes. There are other actors in the scenes that you are usually working with. With voiceover, there are no props. There are no other people that you usually get to work with. Yes, you are sometimes creating a TV show or telling a story or something, but normally you just have to record your parts and then they send them in and then the editors mix them in together. So you got to be able to create that chemistry yourself and think about, all right, it comes back to those questions. No matter what art it is, who are you? Who are you talking to? Where are you at? Because if you can answer those questions and you can physicate those emotions,
You got it.
you got it. And sometimes it's kind of funny because, for example, just a very general example, if you're going to play an older man in voiceover, maybe the only way you reach that voice or you hit that voice is if you actually hunch your back over. Because when you do that, now you can actually perform that voice.
The physicality of it.
Yeah.
that.
That's just a very simple example, but it gets way more complicated than that. But that's just the start. And I think the other part of it too is then there's different demographics and different dynamics to it. So, like, for example, usually on film acting, there is an opportunity to reach different levels and be more famous and all that because you're on camera. People are going to see you more. With voiceover, you can still do that and you'll still be very, very noted. But one thing somebody asked me one time is like, all right, name an A-list celebrity. that's a movie star or a TV star. It's pretty easy to do because there's a lot of them. And then they say, all right, now name an A-list voiceover actor. There's a handful of them because they're in that 2% or that 1%.
A small handful.
Yeah, and it's harder to get into that arena. But regardless, there's still forms of storytelling. There's still a lot of fun. I think some of the things that are similar, like I said, is the same thing. You're still acting when you're doing voiceover. You're still acting when you're on camera. There's physications. There's your whole process of kind of like with the 7 pillars acting, where you have circumstance, meaning, objective, action that you're playing. You definitely want to bring that into voiceover. You want to have that for all your lines. You still got to know how to memorize scripts. You still got to know how to give cold reads. You still got to take a lot of classes. You're still going to meet a lot of people that you're going to be performing with, whether you take acting or voiceover classes. Normally, I find people who are actors, they've dealt with voiceover as well. I find that most people who do voiceover, they've taken some acting classes too. But I thought that this was interesting that I kept meeting a lot of producers and like casting directors, and they kept saying you can't study both at the same time. It's almost like impossible. And to a degree, yeah, it is, because it's just they're both very different, even though they're very similar. And it just
They're two different freeways.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't
You can't drive on two different
freeways at the same time. Yeah.
You can't take a train and drive a car at the same time.
Exactly. Even though they're both modes of transportation. Yes. Kevin, what has been your kind of takeaway? Because you've been doing this a lot longer than I have for voiceover. What has been kind of your experience being in the voiceover industry so far? And you're just now still hitting some big monumental shifts here.
What I've learned is I'm always going to be a work in process.
Yeah.
And I have to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. But because when you're not a work in process, that's when you stagnate and start going downhill creatively. You always have to be, it's like exercise. You always have to do some movement. What are you going to do?
Absolutely.
And we met each other when I was doing a live announcing thing. Yeah. And I always go back to that. Because when you do live announcing, there's no do-overs.
Yeah.
And I'll say it again, there's no do-overs.
That's the other thing, yeah, with on-film acting. You do have the opportunity to do another take. You don't get that sometimes with certain opportunities.
And I can give you a situation, and you're going to smile, you're going to remember. I won't mention exactly what happened, but there's the time when I was not as prepared as I should have been for live announcing. The lights are going down, and I go, and my script goes completely out of order. Mm-hmm. And I'm inside freaking out going, I have to announce this in 10 seconds, and I do not have... It all got together, but shows you about that preparation. I don't know how you did live announcing back then when, because the theater would be switching over and they would find me. They said, we always find you in the same spot. I said, because I have to be in my element, reviewing the next announcement.
Yeah. Because
when the light goes down and it's go time, when you have that microphone, it has what they call feedback, and you can't stop. You can't listen for yourself, because if you do, there's going to be that delay. So there's all these things in your head.
Yeah.
And changes at the last minute. They would write a name sideways. So you're trying to read the name correctly, then you're going to have to be on your count, because the people on stage are waiting for you. So there's all these things in your head. So just a lot of noise.
Yeah, and to that degree too, like for voiceover scripts, sometimes, like especially if you're doing a promo or a commercial, you got to hit that within like 30 seconds, or you got to hit that whole script within like 60 seconds. That's not
the challenge.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the case sometimes when you're on like a TV show or a movie. You might have to hit it within a certain cadence or like, but it just depends on what project it is, right? So that's another big difference.
And also with on-camera acting, you have blocking. Then you have the other actors.
Yeah.
Because you have to say your lines correctly for them to do what they have to do.
Yeah.
And then also on camera acting, I know that there's, especially with plays and things happen. Props get misplaced. What are you going to do if the prop that you're supposed to pick up is not on stage? You've got to improv it to make it seem like it wasn't an issue, even though you're freaking out inside because you don't have something.
Yeah, and I mean that's three completely different things too: theater versus TV versus film, which is crazy. We won't even get into that. But another thing I found that where they're synonymous, and I learned this through class just one day, is a lot of the times, like especially if you're doing voiceover animation, there has to be a certain pacing to it. It has to be quick. You have to be able to play off of each other, and really bring the words off the script so that it doesn't sound like you're just reading it. And what made that make sense for me is I was in acting class one day, and we were doing a scene, and they were like, "You need to be faster." And they're like, "I don't want to necessarily hear you speak faster. I want to hear you think faster." And the way that was presented to me, it was like, God, that makes so much sense. I was like, but I've never heard anybody say it that way.
But it's so hard to do.
Exactly, because if you think about it, naturally, what do we do as humans? We do think very fast. We have ideas and things that just come into our mind, and a lot of the times people just talk out loud, and it sounds very natural. You need to do that in your reads. And so how do you do that without not sounding like you just sped up and you're just reading faster and you're trying to
imagine
be like
on your read the specs says think faster.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do I do that?
Yeah, and so the way you think faster, it is an art and it is a skill, but you make very strong choices so that it seems as though you have thought about this in the moment when you've actually done a lot of preparation for it. And you just got to get good at doing that for scripts in general, especially with voiceover, because with voiceover, I mean, if you're like on a TV show, you're doing animation, there's no time, and scripts change, like Kevin was saying.
When the lights are going down, and usually the person with the hardest to spell name, and they always tell you at the end, and our friend always tells me, here you go, don't mess it up.
That's why I feel like the most successful thing I've ever done, or the thing that helps me 24/7, I still go back to it, is doing improv. That's why I'm so glad I was in an improv troupe, because improv will help you with all of that. Being able to feel comfortable, looking stupid in front of a crowd, being able to think on your feet quickly, being able to interact with all different kinds of people. Like, it's so many benefits to just practicing improv with a troupe. So I always go back to that, and it's so monumental and it's so crazy, because I feel like people think that they're two different things, and essentially voiceover is acting, and acting is voiceover, just a little bit different.
And the way I always heard it explained is voice acting or acting in general is like trying to ride a unicycle with a flat tire.
Yeah.
Or you're always off. So you have to get used to being comfortable saying, like I always say about myself, I'm a work in process. So that allows me to be directed, I hope, when you say, I'm coming to this session wanting to get better. So you have to be comfortable with hearing criticism.
Yeah, that too.
And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it if someone said,
you suck, you're horrible, what the hell are you thinking?
Literally, or that just didn't hit the mark.
Or you really disappointed me. I gave you work to do, and you put your heart and soul into it, and you come back, and they're like, what was that?
I've had that happen.
We both have. I feel like
sessions,
everybody goes through a point of that.
Where you just want
to
cower up and just...
All right, I quit.
Honestly, I've thought of things and go, why am I doing this? And it comes back to what you said at the beginning of this podcast. It's fun. It's cathartic. It's something where there are no boundaries.
Yeah. I love when you do get into that mode and you are in the flow and you're starting to have fun. The crowd's starting to have fun. The viewers are having fun. And then you're killing it. And man, there's nothing like that energy feeding off of that.
And I can remember going to see you in improv,
Mm.
to where I was watching you have fun, and I didn't know it, but you were watching me have fun, and my energy was helping you.
Yeah, you just feed off each other, and I think that's the beauty of doing a fun scene or getting a part. Even just having these working sessions, I think it's fun to just creatively bounce off of each other.
And you feel so much better. It's like exercise.
Mhm.
I don't want to go do it, and you go and you work and work and work, and then the after feeling is, I'm glad I did that.
Yes, exactly.
Or going to the doctor, you know you have to get a shot.
Mm-hmm.
For the minute it's going to hurt, but then you leave and go, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
Or I'm glad that I went to the session with Justin and he made me feel uncomfortable, because it at the end it brought out, look, you nailed, that's what we want right there, and it's on camera.
Yeah, I mean, the
it.
whole time I was just trying to get him to talk, like we're talking right now, and like I couldn't get him to see it
He's
until.
like going, why can't you talk to me like we're talking now? Like
Yeah.
the microphone's right there. I'm looking at it, but I'm not fearing it.
Yeah.
What's that about? I'm not fearing it.
Yeah, I think the camera catches it, so he was able to see that.
And I also think about the art of acting, and I think about back to a classic comedy team that we all know, or we can look at Laurel and Hardy. Laurel and Hardy, or even Charlie Chaplin, or all those greats.
Mm.
They were as funny audio only as they were on screen.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back and listen to audio only recordings of Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, and they play these two characters.
Yeah.
But a beautiful part of that is, off screen, the one who played dumb as part of the comedy team was the mastermind and the businessman making the decisions.
Yeah.
So there's that dichotomy too, is,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
And that persona.
on screen Stan Laurel was the dumb one.
Mm-hmm.
Off screen, he's the smart one. Another situation where I know that similar is the magic team of Penn and Teller. Penn is the one talking all the time, and Teller was the one that always gets shot or hit at or thrown at or blown up. Off screen, he's the businessman,
Mm-hmm.
the contracts man. So it's all performing.
Yeah.
It's all just, do your thing. And I also want to bring in the fact also that a lot of people, they look back at Lucille Ball. Her groundbreaking comedy, I Love Lucy, was the first one to use 3 cameras. Lots of firsts. And I learned about her work ethic. Everything she did was scripted, but she made it look like it was not scripted. There's the
That's the art. That's
beauty
the
of
craft.
it.
Yeah, that's the talent.
She knew what she was doing. She learned how to do that, and that's why she made her millions.
Mm-hmm.
She was also the first female head of a studio in Hollywood history.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of firsts there.
Yeah. A lot of great stuff, man. We could be here forever. Kevin, if somebody asked you or told you today, hey, I want to be a voiceover actor, what would you tell them?
Get ready to work your butt off and be uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Don't come in with guns a-blazing, acting like you own the street, because you'll find out that the way you grow is to find out what you're not good at. And to have directors call you out on that, and have parts change because of that. But then when you're given a part as a change, and then you realize that you nailed it, then when you hear the final product and you go, you know what, they were right. This was right, this was correct, and this was what I should have done. But and I went to church today, and the pastor talked about, you won't know that you get to the higher mountain until you go through a storm.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking about that you can't see through the clouds. But then when you get through the storm, you get to a better plateau than where you were at the beginning. You're like, how'd I get here? Through the storm, through the not knowing how to navigate. That was the beauty of this workout session, was I wanted you to put me in uncomfortable situations. And that's how you learn to be directable. That the first studio that both he and I went to, Justin and I went to, Del Mar Media Arts, the first thing they tell you is you have to learn who are you, who are you talking to, and what is the situation. They said that to me so often, and now it comes back to that, even on-camera acting, even improv. Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you getting at?
If somebody asked you, hey Kevin, I want to be an on-camera actor, what would you tell them?
Again, get ready to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you will fear the camera. I'm going to put it out there. You might fear the camera, but don't fear the camera. Now, why is it here that the microphone is right there?
Yeah.
I can see it.
You use a little red light on it too.
But it doesn't bother me. But yet in other situations, I'm like Cindy Brady staring at the microphone.
I think that that was a good discovery for you today.
It's mental.
I used to have the same problem. I mean, it never really goes away, but you just kind of, I'm hoping that this kind of takes the edge off of that a little bit, just doing this.
What it brought out to me is what my coach has been harping at, is saying, when you record, you sound this way and this way and this way, and I have to bring it out of you. But if I push that away and just talk to me, you bring out what I want you to do when you're recording.
Yeah, I think there's some personal development and some self-discovery for you there, because for me, and I've talked about this before, I had a whole mental thing with the camera. I would get highly triggered whenever I get in front of the camera. For me, long ago, it's not so much the case anymore, but whenever I got on camera, I thought that was a safe space to like start giving confessions. And so like if I was on camera with another person, I would start like telling all their dirt. And then they would call me out and be like, yo, why did you just do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I felt like this is everything. And I think where that was coming from was I felt like nobody was listening to me. So I felt like when I had the opportunity to be in front of a camera, now I had an outlet for somebody to listen to me. And then I would say all these things. So that's just one little personal development thing. That was my journey. So I hope you don't have to go down that road, any of you. But I think there is some self-discovery there for you, Kevin, of why do I feel that way when I'm in front of a camera.
And I'll give you an example that I've worked on through this, is that I went to my private lesson with my coach.
Mm-hmm.
And they do what coaches do, and
tell you what you're not seeing.
And sometimes I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And I walked out and I was angry, and I said, why am I paying top dollar for somebody to tell me that I suck?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I even doing this?
Because you were investing in yourself.
But yet I kept going back, and
mm-hmm.
what he was saying was truthful.
Yeah.
And he was the first one to tell me, he goes, you know what? In so many words, you suck right now.
And the truth can hurt people.
Because that's why you're not booking. He didn't say it that way, but it came at me that way. Because what you expect is, I know what I'm doing. I feel like Mario and walking. I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna go get Bowser,
mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, put your blam it, because you gotta watch on your side. You gotta watch doing this, because things can happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say I'm a work in process, because then it gives me that little bit of, you need to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And driving and doing the Gettysburg Address. Think about that. You're driving and you're trying to do the Gettysburg Address, and it doesn't go together. But by doing that, then it takes away that woodenness
Yeah.
of doing the scene again.
Yeah, I know for me, like if anybody ever asks me, hey, I want to be a voiceover actor, or I just want to be a on-camera actor, I tell them the exact same thing. I'd be like, okay, start taking classes, and from there you're going to meet a lot of people, and you're going to have a lot of self-discovery and a lot of work to do, kind of like how you would say, Kevin, and get ready to go on a journey, because that's what's about to happen. And I would say this too, and this is what I love, just from doing different shades of acting and different styles of acting and being involved in all these different things, is I love working with creative people. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a stand-up comedian, if you're an improv actor, if you create music, you're a producer. I don't care if you're a makeup artist. I don't care if doesn't matter. I just love working with creative people. And for me, that has been the most uplifting and healing thing, because I feel like everybody has something for you. Even if it's the smallest thing, or even if it's like what not to do. And I feel like if you just open yourself up, there's so much to be learned. There's so much to connect over. And it's, to me, that's just a beautiful thing. I just love working with creative people, and I think that everybody is creative. It's just how far do we tap into it?
And I co-host the podcast with Breathe Faith and Creativity with Derek Engoy. He's a creative writer. He's also a pastor, and I never even thought before about studying creative writing, but he shares about how the mechanics of writing can help you in acting, and I would have never made that connection if I wouldn't have met somebody that does creative writing, and he's passionate about that. He's passionate about.
Yeah, he's good too.
And whatever you're passionate about, that will come through.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate sounding like that high school counselor that you don't always like to listen to. You go into their office and they had that sign that said, "Today is the first day of the rest of your life." And you go, that sounds so
cliche,
archaic.
Yeah.
But if you open yourself up to, I don't know everything. I was also going to mention that the highest grossing voice actors nowadays take classes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what? They already make millions, but they're like,
every day getting better, working progress.
I've got to get better because there's competition out there. I've got to stay up on my game, and the way you do it is you go back to coaches and hone your skills.
Absolutely. Yeah, Kevin, this has been so much fun. We could be here forever, and I'm grateful to sit down and have this chat. I think at the end of the day, like you were saying, acting and voiceover, they're one and the same, but very different. So with that, I would like to do something fun, because I feel like this whole day has just been fun. I'm going to do a lightning round real quick. I don't have anything prepared, and I just want to do it just with, I feel like, I don't know, this is just be a fun thing to do for us. So Kevin, lightning round, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Corn dog from Disney or barbecue from Knott's Berry Farm?
Barbecue from Knott's Berry Farm.
Rise of the Resistance or Toontown?
Toontown.
Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck?
Daffy Duck.
Tex Avery or Chuck Jones?
Tex Avery.
Snoopy or Huckleberry Finn?
Huckleberry Finn.
Last one. We're gonna go. We're gonna go voiceover or acting.
Acting.
Hey, there we go. That was fun. I hope you enjoyed that. You picked some different answers I didn't think you were going to pick, so that was cool.
That's what I like, is think outside the box.
All right, do me. Come on.
Okay.
Real quick, do me.
Okay. It sounds like that guy going, "Are you ready to rumble?" Dun, 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 dun. Laurel and Hardy or the Three Stooges?
Three Stooges.
Chicken soup or chicken gumbo?
Chicken gumbo.
Laurel and Hardy or Groucho Marx?
Laurel and Hardy.
In Living Color or Jim Carrey?
In Living Color.
Commercial acting or voiceover?
Commercial acting. I was thinking about that one.
Country Bear Jamboree or Rise of the Resistance?
Oh God, Rise of Resistance.
The Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean?
Haunted Mansion.
You answered that right away. The thing I love about lightning round whenever I do it on our podcast that we do is that people, and we go back to, there's one episode of Breathe, Faith and Creativity where it's Derek talking to his wife, and I love what he says. It's lightning round. You're not supposed to think.
Well, yeah, because every answer that she answered, she like explained it
I
and thought
gotta
about it.
you know.
And Derek was just like, "It's a lightning round. You're not supposed to think.
You
It's supposed to be
can't
vague."
think.
All right, I
But
wanna,
love you both.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's good. That's why we do it, because it's funny. And that was an old episode. So yeah, love you guys.
and if I wish you could have seen what I saw, what I went to that one answer, you're like smiling. I go,
All right, I'm gonna tell you why commercial acting, because I wanted to do it for that one. Because I recently have been doing commercial acting, and it's so much fun. It's a lot of improv, and the audition for it was great. And shout out to David Green, because it was his birthday when
happy
I
birthday.
did that audition, and he helped. He gave me some of that birthday magic. I booked it. So it was so much fun to recently do a commercial acting, and that's why I said it, because I love voiceover. Voiceover is so much fun too, because you can play all ranges of different characters and ages. Like with on camera, that was another thing we didn't get to. Is like sometimes you get limited because of the way you look, and you're only able to play certain characters. But with voiceover, doesn't matter what you look like, as long as you can bring any kind of character to life. It could be a crown, it could be a tree, it could be a piece of grass, it could be a pen or pencil. Like, it doesn't matter.
Or in my case, could be a wolf.
Could be a wolf, like animals. So that's why I said commercial acting, because I felt like it kind of encompassed all those things. So I wanted to explain myself on that one. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.